I am very happy that tennis is almost back on track, and I do look forward to the US Open this coming Monday. But in the meantime, let's talk about some tennis. Hello everyone, welcome back to My Stage, Your Platform. I am Susie Q, and today I have here with me Robert Calassano, someone who knows tennis very well. He's coached it, he's played it, and he's actually attended so many matches, especially the US Open, which is coming up next week. So I just wanted to bring him here for him to share his knowledge about tennis. So Rob, welcome to My Stage, Your Platform.
Well, thanks for having me, Susie.
Absolutely.
You can see we're on a low budget.
Studio.
Low budget.
Very low budget.
Actually, it's 45 years was snapped last year because of COVID-19. Not a complaint. People had many more problems than I did. Started in 1975. Back then, the US Open, it was so much different. It was on horseshoe, which is like a green clay. Up until through 74, it was on grass. Then it was 3 years, 75, 6, and 7 at Forest Hills. Forest Hills is just down the road, across the Grand Central, southwest from the U.S. Tennis Center. And it was such a great time. The players had to walk from the clubhouse through the crowd to the stadium. The crowds weren't like they are today. The only real problem was parking. Parking in Forest Hills, it's a community, residential, beautiful community, but quite difficult. But as the players would walk over, if you looked at 1968, when Arthur Ashe won the first U.S. Open, the great Arthur Ashe, a man who I walked up to one time, just wanted to shake his hand, and I remember the callus on his hand.
That's from playing, I'm sure.
Yeah, obviously, and I thought I played a lot. His hand was all calloused. But having said that, the stadium only had about 10,000 of 13,000 people in it in 1968 in the final. So it was a different atmosphere then, not as crowded. In fact, the following year, 1976, I went over with my buddy Walter, and we got there early, had our sandwiches and our sodas and all. We were the first people online, and when the gates opened, there may have been 20 people. 20 people. That's a different time, but it was a wonderful time. As I noted, at night, we stayed one night. We didn't want to leave. Vilas was coming on. Guillermo Vilas from Argentina was a 1977 champion. He was coming on before the final. He beat Jimmy Connors that year in the final. And we didn't want to leave. We're there waiting. The thing had been delayed, some of the matches. We just had to move up in the stadium and join the night crowd. In fact, this was day crowd and night crowd, and the stadium still wasn't filled. Wow. So again, a different dynamic, but it was very exciting. Bjorn Borg in those days ruled on the clay, but he couldn't win a U.S. Open. In fact, Bjorn Borg had already won the French Open twice, and in 75, my first year there, Connors beats him 7-5, 7-5, 7-5 in the semis.
It's
Jimmy
amazing.
Connors.
He
right?
remembers
well,
even the scores. Amazing.
Certain things you like, they hardwire. You know, some people it's poetry,
Right.
some people Shakespeare. I happen to like that. And the whole thing was the fact that, and that has to do a lot of times with the draw. What's the draw? When Borg, and I digress just a second, in 1976, Borg won Wimbledon for the first time. 5 times in a row he was going to win it. And in that 76, as I remember, Roscoe Tanner, the American with the big serve, lefty big serve, beat Jimmy Connors in the quarterfinals. Again, in those days, Connors had the edge on Borg. Later on, Borg would beat Connors more than it would lose. But in 76, he had a good draw. Connors gets knocked out. Borg goes all the way through and beats Elinasvitolina in the final. But back to Forest Hills, you get there, the gates would open. You could climb up the back of different stands if you wanted to see a match. There were, because it wasn't as like today. It's much nicer. Flushing is a much nicer place, but you know you can't just sneak into a side court anymore. There are understandably guards. There are queues. There are lines. Sometimes I'm amazed. I've seen Louis Armstrong Stadium with a line. It must be an hour to get in to see a match. I always wonder, why not go to another side court somewhere outside? The colors in those days in the 70s, I remember Raul Ramirez from Mexico. I think he married a Miss Universe, in fact. He had these blue and these orange colors. Connors happened to be there in the 1977 semifinal. And in those days, they played the men's matches, semifinals on a Saturday, and they'd put the women's final in between, which really did a disservice both to the women. They didn't have their day in the sun or night, as it came on later, or the men, because they'd have to play the final the following day after playing the semifinal.
Oh, wow.
And he was playing a fellow named Barazzuti from Italy. We were in the stands. I was with a friend, Russ Rosser, and I. And Connors hit a ball, and it was called good. And Connors came running over to Barazzuti's side. Barazzuti is showing the mark. It looked like it was out. Connors rubbed the mark out. He just rubbed it out.
He
on
did it.
Berrettini's side of the court.
And he saw him
and then he
do
ran
that?
back. Connors had a strut in those days. Jimmy Connors, a lot of people have forgotten about him, but he was number one for a long time. He had the great two-handed backhand on that T2000 that he swung around.
He can't do that.
And no, of course. But and he had an attitude as John McEnroe would, elinasvitolina. Those were really the bad boy days. I mean, Nick Kyrgios today sometimes has the attitude.
Yeah.
Sometimes even Fonini starts.
And
he has the strut too.
How about Paire?
Benoit Paire.
Benoit Paire.
But really, the big three were Connors, McEnroe, and Nastase, and they were all there in Forest Hills days. They were a wild bunch. But the great thing about the U.S. Open, if you have never been to the U.S. Open, we're going to be there Monday.
Yeah.
Monday and Tuesday are the first rounds. They used to stretch the men's out to Wednesday, but now it's fair. Monday and Tuesday, the first round finishes, men and women. And the side courts are great. I remember going over to Flushing before Arthur Ashe Stadium. That came in 1997. And I took an amble. I ambled out to these side courts with my kids way out in the back. And I heard this fellow, he was speaking German. And my kids were thirsty. So using my bad German, I went up to him and said, Bitte, haben Sie Wasser für meinen Kinder? Please, do you have water for my children? He looked at me, smiled. He said, I can speak English. He obviously heard my bad accent. So I said, I tried
German.
once more. I said, my bad German. Wie heißt du? He said, Stich, Michael Stich. So Michael Stich gave them, what very nice. So I walked back towards the, in those days, Louis Armstrong, that was the main center court before Arthur Ashe Stadium, Billie Jean King Tennis Center, which it's called now, which is certainly the right name to choose, Billie Jean being a wonderful person for tennis, human rights, and other things. Anyway, I'm walking back, having left Stich, thinking, nice guy, but, you know, he's out here in tennis Siberia. Boris Becker was the man at the time from Germany. And who didn't like Boris Becker? Big topspin backhand, one-handed slice, dove all over the place, personality as large as life, charismatic, a great representative for Germany. And I thought, Stich, you know, poor guy. Well, fast forward a few years later, Stich wins the Wimbledon final, and he beats Boris Becker. And then he and Becker team up doing a gold medal, like it was Barcelona, in doubles in the Olympics. I think Stich won an ATP. I think he never even made a final at the U.S. Open. The final being against Andre Agassi. He lost, but so you never know. Agassi, who had the great return to serve, stood right on the baseline. It was great to watch these players. When you go to those side courts, those outside courts, as you can, the first few days of the tournament, because everybody's playing. I remember a fellow named Andreas Gomez, big fellow, Ecuadorian, big lefty, lumbering, never won at the U.S. Open, but I'd watch him outside. I liked his strokes. Maybe a decade later, he wins the French Open. Michael Chang, before he became Michael Chang, he won early at the French. Certainly, once you start winning, you're on the show courts. Seeing him outside. So you'd see a lot of great players on those outside courts. Guy Forget, I think he runs the French Federation now in tennis. Guy Forget, a lefty, an excellent player from France. But one day, he was fined or he was penalized. He yells out a curse. I won't say what the expletives were, but it was unbelievable. He screams out this curse, but in English. And I remember thinking, why wouldn't he curse in French? He just screamed it out in English, and he got a penalty point. And I remember thinking it was very vulgar. Listen, we all curse. Vitas Gerulaitis, the Lithuanian lion, as Bud Collins used to call him, an American who unfortunately died prematurely from a carbon monoxide poisoning, I believe it was, out on the island, Long Island. I used to watch Vitas. In fact, I'd go over and play at the tennis center, and at the tennis center, he'd drive up in his gold Rolls Royce, pop the trunk, very affable, he'd talk to the people, he'd talk to me on the next court. I couldn't hit like Vitas Gerulaitis, but it was fun being on the same, or next to the same court as he was playing on. Anyway, Gerulaitis one day was fined also for cursing. And Gerulaitis said, do you think that Reggie Jackson played for the New York Yankees, baseball. He said, do you think that Reggie Jackson runs into the wall and he says, oh, I hurt my little heady boo? And I thought, he's so right. But if you let out an expletive on the court, boom, they're going to hit you with a fine. But I do like, some kind of, demonstrative behavior. I like that. When you see somebody, you mentioned Paire before, as long as he doesn't tank, I like watching it.
I think Kyrgios tanks.
He may have tanked a few, yes.
Yeah.
And he's such a talented guy with that great serve.
Because one time we were in Del Rey, and we were there to watch him, and he wouldn't play, so the crowd just started booing him. And this is a guy who is so talented.
Good point.
He's just
Good
so
point.
talented, but I feel that if you're not in the big three like Djokovic, Nadal, or Federer, he doesn't put his best foot forward. That's my personal opinion. But he's just so talented, and I think he's going to regret it one day.
Perhaps.
You know,
you mentioned Del Rey. Del Rey is a great little tournament down in Florida. You'll never get the big three, although Andy Murray used to be in the big four, was going to go this year because of COVID restrictions. I think he didn't go. But Del Rey's a great tournament. What's one of your favorite guys who always makes an appearance there? Who's that? Do you remember?
Tiafoe or Leisha?
Look.
God. The Delpo.
Yes,
the
Delpo.
My man, the Delpo. I love Delpo.
Gaga for Delpo.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He's my man.
Right.
Handsome, everything. He's got the whole
Argentina, big fellow, actually broke Roger Federer's streak in 2009. Del Potro. Delpo won the U.S. Open. Roger had won 5 in a row, Roger Federer.
Wow.
And then Delpo beat him. And yet Delpo, unfortunately, has been injured. He's had such bad luck. But he reemerges where? Mm-hmm. At Del Rey.
Yes.
Del Rey's every February.
Yeah.
We're not paid to say that, but I think it's a great little tournament. I also like Miami, especially when it used to be in Key Biscayne.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful there.
It was.
We played on the courts there, you and I, but it's so nice.
Edmund was there one time we were playing. We said hi to him. You know,
It's Kyle Edmund. He just won the New York tournament indoors,
Yeah.
and unfortunately his knee has been bothering him. A very nice player from Great Britain. And what's interesting is, next to Edmund, our tennis pals.
It's nothing. But we still had fun, you know.
Right, when people say, "Are you good, Rob?" Well, Bjorn Borg never lost sleep over watching me play tennis, so it's always a relative thing. But Key Biscayne, I know the Denizens down there didn't want it to be expanded, and from what I understand, I saw the locker rooms. They're not up to Grand Slam speed. I mean, it's so much better now, I think.
Well, we haven't seen the Hard Rock. We haven't seen it yet, but absolutely from what I have heard.
Yeah, James Blake, I know he's running it. I've heard him speak a few times. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
articulate.
From what I've heard, my friend said to me that it's really beautiful. Like they've really done a tremendous job. Yes.
By the way, it looks real good on Tennis Channel.
Yeah.
We've also been out to Indian Wells, Larry Ellison, Oracle. That's a nice tournament. I mean, out in the desert, Palm Springs.
Yeah.
Tennis is just very nice because you're right there. Unless you're at Arthur Ashe Stadium all the way upstairs. That's a little tough all the way up there. But other than that, you're there by the players. And again, on those side outdoor courts, boy, you really feel it.
Yeah.
You really feel the grit and the growth. You know, maybe I should sit up a little.
You get to see people like Monfils practicing, like out
He's
on
with
the
Dustin
outside.
Brown a few years ago.
Dustin Brown a few years ago.
From
We
Germany,
got pictures with them.
gaelmonfils from France. And,
I love that guy.
And Susie gets the pictures. You know, I never have... I haven't never taken an autograph nor asked for one. Not that I'm above it. I just don't know what to do with an autograph. And I never took a picture with anybody.
Oh,
and that's certainly your prerogative, whatever you like, you know?
I took one with Benoit Paire before I even realized that sometimes, you know,
he's got a great beard, that guy, great beard.
Oh.
He seems like a very friendly guy amongst his peers.
But
as does Kyrgios amongst his peers, although he does seem with Casper Ruud and Djokovic, unfairly he seems to go after them, in my opinion. But you know, he doesn't really care about my opinion.
Yeah,
well, they're personalities. Attitude. It's just personality. Everybody's different. You know, you have all different kinds of way people interpret, you know, digest, assimilate, take things in. It's just the way the human beings are.
I said that he was very knowledgeable about tennis, and in my opinion, Rob, I honestly think that Tennis Channel could use you, really.
No.
You know so much
I appreciate that accolade, but no, Tennis Channel has excellent announcers and former players who are fine. I mean...
Yeah, I know that, but I'm just saying that they could use you. They don't need you, but they could use you.
They certainly don't need me.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that. It's just you're so knowledgeable about things like that. You like sports all around, but especially tennis you're very passionate about. Anyway, so with that said, who are your favorite announcers?
Oh, well, you'd have to go... There's so many of them. Let me go back, way back, Bud Collins. And Donald Dell, he worked with Arthur Ashe, I believe as his representative, as an attorney. And he also, Donald Dell, still involved with the City Corp. It's a 500 tournament held in Washington, D.C. during the summer. Bud Collins, he was really Mr. Tennis, Bud Collins. I remember going to tournaments and he'd come out and sit amongst the crowd and he'd keep a score. He sounded just like he was on the television, authoritative, with lots of quips. He called Steffi Graf Fräulein Forehand. He called Roger Federer Oh, he had a nickname for Roger Federer, Lord of the Swipes, or something like Lord of the Swipes or the Swings. He called Borg the angelic assassin. I mean, he just had all these kind of different sobriquets, nicknames for these different people. And there are the announcers with the mellifluous voices. I would call him Leaf Shirus, right?
Yeah.
We saw him down in Del Rey.
Yeah.
Same hotel.
There's a funny story in Del Rey, in the hotel. We shared the same hotel, and I went to the gym to run, and he was right there on the treadmill running alongside with me. And I thought, this is interesting. I really liked him.
I don't know why that's a funny story, but we'll...
Yeah, but it was just nice. I didn't expect him to be right next to me, and it was really...
Well, he has a mellifluous voice, smooth,
nice.
as did Barry McKay, the late Barry McKay. He was a real good announcer. And Paul Annacone, who coached both Federer and Sampras, when he speaks, I'd say you should listen. He really knows his stuff, and I like Martina Navratilova.
I was going to ask you the same thing. How about her?
I think Martina doesn't get enough airtime. She was my favorite tennis player, Martina, all the time. And I love the serve and volley. I love the attack. John McEnroe, the attack. And I'm surprised more athletes coming up, especially with the one-handed backhand, don't follow Roger Federer's style. Come in on the short ball. Jimmy Connors was a baseliner, but he came in on the short ball. Bjorn Borg learned to come in on the short ball. And I know Darren Cahill coaches Simona Halep, but I'd love to see her once come in on the short ball. What do I scream when I'm watching TV?
I know.
Right? Come in on the short ball. Yeah. Once that, I always was taught, once that shoulder turns and you turn away on the backhand, say you're right-handed, you see the back, that person's going to probably float it back. Unless it's Nadal, he can get it back somehow miraculously.
Nadal and Djokovic, the Gumby.
Yeah, and also Nishikori. But there's some amazing athletes out there.
And
Open
Nishikori's
stance,
been hurt.
sliding.
He's been hurt.
Hurt a lot.
He's not a big person, but he's been hurt a lot. And there's Raonic Milos, who also gets hurt so easily.
Canadian.
Exactly, but it's understandable because he's actually a tall guy.
Well,
Nishikori's
trying to get the most out of his body, and he's not a big guy. And 3 out of 5 sets, it's brutal. Right. I remember he was leading Nadal a few years ago. Maybe it's 10 years ago now. I don't remember how many years ago. And I first saw him at Del Rey, Nishikori. And I thought, who is this 18-year-old kid? How he hits the ball. And he was actually beating Rafa, but then Rafa kind of wore him down.
Rafa is Rafa.
By the way, one year, way back at Miami, Rafa was beating Fed, and Fed was, I believe, #1 in the world. And Rafa was up 2 sets to love. They played a 5-setter in those days. And I think he blistered Rafa. Never won Miami, by the way, out of the 1000s. And Federer ended up winning that match. So, by the way, besides Martina, my other favorite player was always Monica Seles. I loved the way she played. Hit 2 hands off both wings, like Cliff Drysdale amongst the men. Forehand and backhand.
Yeah. We're going to get into those shortly.
No, but I'm just saying, for announcers. I mentioned Martina.
Right. But was she an announcer?
No, but I just wanted to say, I said my favorite player was Martina. I wanted to qualify that. I think Lindsay Davenport does an excellent job.
Ruben.
Chandra. I think Tracy Austin.
Yes.
Pam Shriver, we should give her a little bit more airtime. She's on top of her game. Chris Fowler, he also does college football. The guy, he knows his stuff. Of course, the irreverent Andy Roddick.
Yes.
Excellent in interviews as a player. Still knows his stuff. I get a big kick out of when he's talking. He sees stuff. He makes jokes, self-deprecating. I like it. John McEnroe. Really, John McEnroe is the Ritz-Carlton of tennis. It's amazing when you think of when he started and how far he's come. I think they wouldn't even let him in the Wimbledon club initially because of his attitude. I was in Brazil when I first saw his name. It was 1977. I was teaching then. And I remember I got the newspaper. I was downtown Rio. And the gal I was with, Rebecca, my interpreter, wasn't with me. So I'm looking at the newspaper, and I was looking at the Wimbledon scores, and I recognized Connors, and I recognized Gerulaitis, and I recognized Borg, and this McEnroe. I didn't know who that was. And amazing how he came on. He had won at Stanford, I later found out, won the mixed doubles with Mary Carrillo at the French, and the rest is history. But what a great announcer. But my favorite announcer, Brad Gilbert. Brad Gilbert is the modern-day Bud Collins. I heard him say Chardonnay, Chardy just today. Chardy's a French player with a big forehand. Dr. Ivo, one of our favorites, right? Ivo Karlovic, the big server, right? I think Brad Gilbert has insight. He keeps it light. He's humorous. I see Brad Gilbert. He combines other sports, baseball, football, excellent knowledge. I'm quite sure he's an Oakland Raider fan from what I've heard over the years. But he really is my favorite, Gilbert. I think John McEnroe is a sublime as far as...
We were at Pepperdine, and his name was right there.
Right, Brad Gilbert's by the tennis court area.
The tennis court.
Beautiful school.
Yeah, beautiful school.
California, overlooking the Pacific.
To go to school all over again.
Anyway.
Let's get to the players.
Today's players. Okay.
Today's players, yes. You know, that was quite a very interesting history you gave me.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Whether it was or not, thank you.
It was.
Vielen Dank, as the Germans would say.
It was, and it's great that you're sharing this. Now, with the male players, I just want to know, what advice would you give Djokovic, someone like Djokovic, because you coached. So if you have to coach Djokovic,
None.
Really?
20 grand. What advice could Rob Colasanto give Novak Djokovic? Nothing. There's nothing I could tell him, really. That would be the height of...
He has a coach.
Hubris, temerity, arrogance. Listen, Novak, I think you are... no, nothing. No advice, nothing. Niente, nix, null.
How about Daniilmedvedev? How about him?
You know, I like Medvedev. Medvedev is like Roddick insofar as Medvedev gives, I think, just the best interview. He's funny, a little self-deprecating. By the way, there's a guy, Kazakhstan, Bublik, also real funny. He hasn't made it up to the top yet, but boy, he can give a good interview. And what I think is great about these guys, Medvedev, they're bilingual, trilingual. You know, one time I heard Zverev apologize that he only spoke Russian. He was at the French, I think. I think it was the French. Where it was, it's irrelevant. Yeah. But he only spoke German, English, and Russian. Really? So much for staying in school. I Berrettini, I heard him break out speaking in Spanish. Of course, he could speak Italian, English, probably French too. Djokovic, multilingual. We know Federer goes Schweizerdeutsch, Deutsch, German, French, English. You know, it's just amazing. Amazing.
But what would be your main advice to Medvedev?
Oh, sorry, I digress.
Yes.
I'd like to see him come in a little bit more. He has a big wingspan. You take the short ball and not go so far back. He really, remember, we just saw him recently. He ran into the camera. I guess it was Cincinnati. He ran into the camera.
It was Cincinnati.
And really understandably upset, that camera being on the court there. Stays way, way back. A la Rafa Nadal used to be that Dominic Thiem, who's out now with an injury, staying way, way back. Just maybe come forward a little bit more. That's excellent player. He's due to win a slam. Played a great final against Rafa Nadal in 2019. You know.
Yeah, and how about Tsitsipas?
Well, you know, he's my favorite of the group, Tsitsipas.
I know, so far.
I like the way he follows. He comes into that short ball. He doesn't wait. And I see a lot of Federer there. I just like to see him slice a little more. I've been seeing his slice. Well, it's a little bit, it's not a traditional slice. You know, that great slice like Roger Federer has, that Yannick Noah used to have on the approach. Patrick Rafter used to have the great slice. You know, in 97, my kids and I, we're over outside of the tennis waiting to get in, and Rafter walks up, and I said something about, hey, Mike, how about a Foster's? Well, he goes on and wins. He took a nice picture with the kids. Again, I don't mind taking a picture with somebody else. And then he wins the following year. And he had that great slice, as did Stefan Edberg. Great volleyer, great slice. Becker, you know, that slice, that cutting slice coming in, I think that's a great shot. I happen to hit one-handed, and it's a big advantage. And also for the volleying, of course, the two-handed, I know, gives some stability. You see Murray, you see Nishikori, you see how they can control that two-hand. Yeah. But I'd just like to see him hit the slice away. It's a great topspin, but I think that slice, again, I would emulate Federer. You know, why not copy the best, how he does stuff?
Yeah. And another favorite of mine, Sashazverev. What about him?
Oh, yeah.
Listen, Sashazverev.
Good for him winning the gold medal.
I was so happy. I was thrilled.
I was cheering for Joker for the Golden Slam. I like the Joker, but Novak Djokovic. But at the same time, let's face it, Sashazverev from Germany, 6'6", blonde, blue-eyed. I don't know what the women see in this guy.
Are you kidding
Athletic.
me? Hello?
I kid. And you know,
Sasha, are you hearing this?
It was so poignant last year when he lost the team and the tears, and you know, you felt so bad for him. he's due.
Yeah.
He certainly can win.
Yeah.
He certainly can win.
Listen,
what would I say to him? Play big man tennis.
And he's been
like
playing,
you did after the first set against Novak Djokovic. You know, play big man.
He's been doing that. He won Cincinnati, right? What did he just? He won Cincinnati, and he played big. He was not afraid, and I really admire that about him a lot. He just went all out. He really went all out, and that was very.
Well, Brad Gilbert has another saying. He says, when you have the fastball, he's talking about Isner with a big serve, John Isner or whomever. He says, put down the one. Keep putting down the one. He uses the catcher analogy in baseball. Give it the one. Hit big. I think Sasha sometimes has a problem with his second serve. Hit a big first serve twice. Yeah. You know, he's got all the tools, and you know they're all deserving of it. They're they seem like such gentlemen. Medvedev, Tsitsipas. We already know about Joker. He's won 20 of them. And
it's just that for a big guy, he actually moves very well. He actually does move very well.
Fantastic.
He's very quick to get the balls.
Fantastic.
And yes,
6'6".
Medvedev.
These guys are so big.
Yes.
Kevin Anderson, 6'8". I mean, Riley Opelka, you know, my favorite of the Americans. You know, he must be 7 feet. I remember him and Del Rey standing next to him. Yeah. Talk about diminutive, I felt. My goodness gracious. Yeah. Anyway.
So,
anybody else?
Zverev, of course. I have plenty. Andreirublev.
Oh, Rublev. You know, you got to like him too. The Russians are coming. You've got Medvedev. You've got Khachanov. You've got, of course, Rublev. Karatsev, who had the great Australian Open run. Unbelievable Russian tennis since the days of Kafelnikov. And
Karatsev, he came from nowhere.
He did.
And the first time I watched him play, I said to you, there's this Russian, because you didn't watch that match. I said, oh my God, there's this Russian. I think that he could win it. Well, obviously he didn't
I know they called it, the Russians said he was their secret weapon.
But I could not believe how well he was playing.
Excellent.
He
beat Dimitrov and he beat Felix.
He hit the ball a ton, and he was not afraid to play.
Yeah, he was excellent. And Rublev, who had been hurt a few years ago, Rublev won the next gen, as did Tsitsipas, as has Sinner, the Italian, who's the up-and-coming Italian. He's very good. But Rublev with a big forehand, and he lets out the yell, and I like the way he gets mad every time he misses a shot at himself.
I see, like if you have
come in on the short ball. You know, he won the gold medal in mixed doubles. He and Khachanov play excellent doubles. We've watched him at the Open.
Yeah, I liked what
on
he
the
said.
Side courts.
We represent the Rock.
Right, that's right. That's right. Because they were called the Russian Olympic Committee. That's right. He had some humor there in English.
We represent the Rock. I'm like, yeah, that's right. You do represent the Rock. You know. Anyway, so moving on. Who else do I have? Matteo Berrettini.
Oh, Berrettini.
What would be the advice if you had to coach him?
Well, first of all, the Italians are coming like the Russians. Berrettini, Sinner, Senengo, of course, is your man, the strutter.
Yeah.
Fabio Fognini and the young kid Sinner. I mean, these guys are a load of these Italian players. It's great to see. I remember the days of Adriano Panatta back in the days. He beat Borg actually at the French Panatta. I remember him playing Connors at the U.S. Open. Connors went around the pole on a shot against him. You know, I've been able to abase and abound at the Open. Meaning, I've had tickets. My brother, you know, used to get tickets from AIG, American International Group. We had the suites down in front. We watched Federer play Fabrice Santoro one night under the lights. The magician from France, Santoro, great shot maker. Federer again, just too strong, and he won the match. And then we've often had, you know, nosebleed seats. The first day you always get a ticket for Arthur Ashe, but you go to the outside courts.
You call it the nosebleed seats?
Yes, well, that's an old baseball term, you know. The planes are just missing you. Although they don't come over anymore. David Dinkins makes sure they go around Flushing as opposed to over the top. They used to be so loud, they drowned it out. So I think that's a good thing that they go around because it really...
Do you think that affected the players sometimes?
It was terrible. It was terrible. On television, it was just so loud. It drowned everything out. Yeah, when a jet plane goes right over the top, LaGuardia is a mile away? I don't know. It's so close. That was very bad, very bad. But anyway, Berrettini, the big guy I heard is limping a little bit coming in, but you know he's got that big, powerful game. Wimbledon, he did himself proud. I remember his dad with the hat down. Remember on television? Understandably, as a parent, you get nervous. That goes, you know, with the territory. Watching is often more difficult than participating, right? But anyway.
And so, what is his advice?
I would like to see the big guy follow the ball in too some more, but keep hitting that big forehand. Again, these guys, don't need my advice. But, I believe coming in and shortening points is not a bad way to play.
Right.
I
think McEnroe will agree with you on
that.
Oh,
he was great. Yeah. Greatest hands, greatest volleyer, fast. He'd come in, that constant pressure. And if a guy can volley, it's a great volleyer, Roger Federer.
Oh, yeah.
As was
one of
Stefan
my favorite
Edberg.
Players, by the way.
Yeah, I think worldwide he's one of the
love him.
most favorite players.
Yeah.
I
like most of the play. Really, I do. I can't say that I dislike any player.
Yeah, we're not here to be negative about anybody.
No, but I don't like it when they tank, though. I want you to, because I'm actually cheering for you. And when I watch sports, besides Serena, I want it to be a competition, and I want may the best player win. So I'm supporting both of them.
She likes Serena.
But I'm so biased when it comes to Serena. Sorry.
It's fine. By the way, John Mcenroe never tanked. He'd get mad, lose his temper, but he wouldn't tank. He would just stay in there, and sometimes his temper even seemed to work. Although in the French Open again in '84, I think he would say that his temper lost at Ivan Lendl, ended up winning. And Ivan Lendl was a great player. People forget about him. He won 7 or 8 Grand Slams. Mats Wilander in those days. These are the guys I used to watch in the early Flushing or over in Paris. Lendl, that is, when he beat McEnroe that time. I remember Mats Wilander had just won the French Open, and I'm online to go into the U.S. Open over in Flushing. I remember the guard stopping Mats Wilander. I was just a little over to the side, and he's looking for ID, and I said to the guard, again, not that I had any authority, I said, that's Mats Wilander. He just won the French. I'm thinking, maybe I ought to let the guy in.
All right, let's move on to the women. Enough of the men.
All right.
So let's talk about
wide open.
The women.
Wide open. As it's been.
I think this U.S. Open for the women, especially with Serena out and Venus and who just had COVID? Kenin. But Sophia Kenin also out because she could be a contender too to win it. But obviously with those 3 women out, who do you think? Let's talk about them.
Who do you think?
Well, I'll say Ash Barty, but first let's talk
Slice and nice.
Yes.
That's what Ash Barty is.
Yes.
Slice and nice.
Yes.
I'll give that one to Brad Gilbert.
Yes.
Even though I said it. He can use that.
I enjoy watching her. And I like that she's very eloquent when she speaks.
Absolutely.
I enjoy hearing her speak.
Well, so many of them are eloquent, but you're right.
Most of them are eloquent, but
for their age, it's amazing. You forget how young they are.
Oh my goodness. She knows what to say, very articulate. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She knows the right words and how to make people feel, even her opponent, she puts them on a great pedestal, so which is good. Anyways, so with her, if you had to coach her, what advice would you give her? She's been the world #1 for almost 2 years now. If you had to coach her.
That's why I'm not a pro coach. I wouldn't know what to tell her. She seems to be doing all right. She plays a good game. She can come over the ball with the top spin, hits a good forehand, and the serve is nice. She moves it around. She's a competitor.
She changes her game.
What would I tell her?
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
I like that.
Might.
All right, now moving on to Sabalenka.
Oh,
what about her?
Arynasabalenka, she's overdue.
Yes, for a Grand Slam.
And I could see it, and she's so close. She could win it. In fact, she's my dark horse to win.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see her win it. Whether she can or not, she's from Belarus like Azarenka.
Yeah.
Azarenka's won a few. She's last few years due to various things fallen off a little bit. But Sabalenka, she could actually become #1 and not win a Grand Slam. That's one of the funny things with the math sometimes with the numbers.
That almost happened to Wozniacki.
It did happen to Wozniacki, but then she won a Grand Slam.
That's what I'm saying, almost, because she won one now. So
Caroline Wozniacki from Denmark.
Right.
There was Jankovic from Serbia. And Safina. That's Marat Safin's sister, Safina, Diana Safina. I really liked her, and the #1 seemed to really weigh on her. She wasn't able to win a major. Anyway, so they all made it to #1, but didn't win a major. Sabalenka, mathematically, that could happen too. So we'll see what happens.
I like to see her win a Grand Slam too. Again, especially with Serena out, these are some of my favorite. Barty, Sabalenka. Let's talk about Naomi Osaka.
She picks the top, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the world. These are my favorites. Oh, is that how it works?
Well, because I enjoy watching them play.
Yeah, I like seeing a lot of people.
They play hard. So
all right, fair enough.
Now let's talk about Osaka. Before you even say anything, I have to comment and say that for someone who hasn't won any title, all the titles she's won are Grand Slam. 4 Grand Slam titles. How about that? How about that?
Remarkable.
Right. So if you had to coach her, what advice would you have for her?
Well, it seems right now it's more of an emotional challenge than a physical challenge, and I'm not here. Again, Robert's not giving any answers tonight. I wouldn't know exactly how to teach her.
Yeah.
To go through that. I don't have the ability to teach people with any kind of emotional problems. To my knowledge, she certainly has the tools and maybe a little more patience on some of her shots.
Yeah.
She hits them big and
Yeah.
sometimes
Great
let
serve
up a little bit. She plays fast. I do like fast players. Agassi plays fast. Federer plays fast. I like fast players. But sometimes you got to slow down just a little bit. Perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be it.
Yeah. You never know what to get with her because like she can also change her game. She's just very good. And I'm really proud of her with the things she's done with social media, also promoting social justices and everything. So
Yes.
more power to you.
Very admirable.
Yeah, very
Yes.
admirable for someone her age. Anyway,
Any age.
Yeah, any age. That's true. But she's very young. Let's get to Pliskova.
Oh yeah, Karolina Pliskova from Czech Republic.
Yes.
You know, did a great Wimbledon. Looked like she might pull that
Oh.
out. Big serve, but you know it's inconsistency. She has a twin sister. They're both she's a little better than her twin, but it's remarkable to have two in the same family who are pros. I don't know what to say.
I think in Wimbledon she played better with Sabalenka than she played with Barty. She served very well. Her serves were not disappointing.
Well, she started very nervous, but then she came on.
Yes.
And you know, she's always so gracious after a loss, too. I give her full credit.
Yeah.
Not that she wants to lose, but she
Nobody wants to lose.
has a gracious personality, a nice person.
Yeah.
What would I tell her? Yeah, it might be more in her cabeza than it is in her physicality. But tennis also, there's so much to strategizing. And, you know, when you play a match, you know, there's so many other variables besides just hitting a great shot. It's, you know, if a guy hits big, let's say a guy in this case, it's like a pitcher in a fastball. It's coming straight down the middle without movement and location. Tom Seaver used to pitch for the Mets. He said you need not only the speed, the velocity, you need movement and location. So if you're just hitting big, a pro can get onto that big stuff. Maybe not every serve, but so you have to mix it up. And I think that's one of the keys, mixing up, slicing.
And
dinking.
Also, I don't think she enjoys coming to the net.
And again, I'm a big proponent of that. It is tougher with today's graphite. The rackets are better. You know, in the old days with the wooden rackets. And I heard Billie Jean King recently in an interview. She just wrote a new book, another autobiography, which I'll buy. I heard her on NPR. She's just the best, Billie Jean. I saw her at an event once. She came up to me and she said, "Hey, Rob, how are you?" But I had a name tag on. And I thought, how does she know who I am? But she was just so smooth and just talked, small talk. And I thought, this is why Billie Jean King's where she is. But Billie Jean said she used to come in on grass because the bounces were so bad, especially in the old days. You look at the courts, they were all beat and chewed up, and they didn't want the ball to bounce so much because it would go the wrong way. You see that sometimes in the clay, you know. Anyway.
Right. And last but not the least, for the women's side, Svitolina.
Oh, Svitolina.
Mrs. Monfils.
Oh, yeah,
Mrs. Monfils, yes.
Close
Svitolina.
but no cigar and all of these big things.
Oh.
But you did get Monfils, so... And listen, what a great couple of gems, as they call it.
Absolutely.
And he, you know, I've
Absolutely.
seen him many times, and you know,
They
we've
make
always.
a great couple, by the way.
And
That's-
yes, I like watching.
And I keep saying Monfils, the ring, perfect choice. I love the ring. Typical women.
But she's, you know, very talented, but can't string. You know, you got to just string 7 matches together. She'll have 4 or 5 good ones. I know she's in a word. This is a Friday. We're taping this tomorrow. Saturday she has a final. I think it's in Chicago. So maybe she'll win that. But it's you got to put 7 together.
Yeah, she's won some matches. I just wanted to
Well,
win
there's
the big ones.
There's also
Like, I want to see her win.
Andreescu from Canada, Swiatek from Poland.
Ostapenko.
Well, what I saw with Andreescu and Swiatek, they hit so beautifully, especially Swiatek. I thought she'll never lose again.
And Ostapenko,
and they haven't won
too.
since then.
Yeah.
Well, Ostapenko's a banger,
Yeah,
but
she was,
but
and
not as
won it
consistent.
down with the
She won the
Grand
French,
Slam.
right? She won the
You
French.
know?
Right, I remember in Miami when the
I
coach
couldn't
was trying to
believe
get her a court,
Yeah.
and he couldn't. We were in the same hotel. He couldn't get the court for her. I felt bad for her. And one of the great enigmas is Garbine Muguruza from Spain. She's won some majors, and then she doesn't. And Petra Kvitova. There's so many. I mean, she had that unfortunate stabbing, her hand, her tennis hand. But boy, she's won.
Yeah.
And she knows one speed, banging the ball, maybe a little let up, slicing.
Yeah.
A little bit more, but and then we forgot Halep. What happened?
Halep, that's what I was gonna say. I forgot about Halep, but before she got her slams, I was also cheering so much for her because she was knocking on the door and was never getting over that hump. So it was very refreshing to finally see her win a slam, and I think she has like two slams now. She has Wimbledon.
Yes,
she
Wimbledon,
beat Serena
yep.
at Wimbledon, and then she has the French.
Played beautiful at Wimbledon,
Yes.
by the way.
So I was very happy that she
She
got
didn't
over
even have
there.
3. Did she win a U.S. Open? We should know this before we come on the
no,
air.
No,
So much for my knowing my knowledge.
No, but I would have known that.
How about an Australian? Does she
No.
have 3? Only
She
2?
has, I think she has 2.
No.
She won
Our
Wimbledon.
apologies if we have that wrong.
Yeah, if we have that wrong, sorry, but we would check. But I think she has 2.
Anyway, in summation, we should.
And she has a great coach, by the way, Darren Cahill.
Yeah, I remember when he
liked him.
played from Australia.
Yeah.
I remember him at the Open playing, and yes, he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
He's also an announcer on television.
But as much as I love Halep, the women I would like to see win this U.S. Open would be Pliskova is one of them.
Or Sabalenka.
Sabalenka is one of them, and Svitolina, if she can really pull it off.
It'd be nice.
I would be very happy for them, really.
You know, you get a Grand Slam, you get into the
Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame. Although I think Thomas Muster, I think he has a couple from Austria. He's still not in.
Why
he
is
should
that?
be in. I guess it's the voting. I mean, he won 50, 60 tournaments. By the way, John McEnroe with his doubles won like 78 doubles, 77 singles. People forget about that. And Martina, she's in the 300 with singles and doubles. When you
Wow.
talk about greatest players, I mean, Serena's the greatest women's singles player. But Martina Navratilova and John McEnroe, I saw him not make a top 10 list once. I thought, what, are they kidding me?
Yeah.
How does McEnroe not make a top 10?
And I
of all
definitely
time?
would like to see Serena get that 24, but it's not getting easier with age, but I believe she
No,
can still
very
do
tough.
it.
By the way, I
I'm
wanted to
so
say something about
biased.
tennis balls. Not that we have any sponsor, but they're about the same price as they were 40, 50 years ago. It's amazing.
How much was this?
What's it, $2 for a can? I mean, it's amazing how cheap tennis balls
Yeah.
are, you know? And
We're going to hit some tennis balls later with these.
well, maybe when the sun comes up, it's dark right now. And
No, not
don't
today,
have any lights,
obviously.
you know? You know, a lot of things have changed in my years of watching tennis. It used to be, this is just for some trivial knowledge to close this out. It used to be that we know you change sides on odd numbered games, 1, 3, 5, whatever. But it used to be, if you won a set, say 18-16 before the tiebreak came in, 18-16, that's an even number, you wouldn't stop. You'd start the next set right away without sitting down. Well, not only for television, but it's really, I think, very difficult to keep playing. You've lost an 18-16 set. You remember Mahut and Isner at Wimbledon, that long 3-day marathon.
Yeah.
I think the tiebreak is really one of the best things that ever came along in tennis, the tiebreak.
Yeah.
You know, you get to a final and deciding set, whether it be 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, whatever it might be, and you get the first 1 to 7 at the U.S. Open. It's finite. It has a finish, right? By 2, you have to win.
Yeah.
You know, Australia has a very interesting tiebreak. They have a 10-pointer, which is kind of interesting too. That might be a little bit better. It gives you a little bit more time if you fall behind quick. It's quickly over the 7-point tiebreaker. Australia is a 10-point, kind of like they use in the doubles. In doubles, now you have a first and second set. If they split them, they go to a 10-point tiebreak. Wimbledon, it was a great Federer Djokovic final a few years ago. 12-12, they did a tiebreaker, but 12-12 is it's not fair. 12-12 in a final set, you know, and then you have to go another round perhaps. It's just too much.
Yeah.
And the French, and I like the French Open. I love watching it on the clay, but as Mayor Koch of New York used to say, ridiculous. They don't have a tiebreak. I mean, come on. Let's get some finality here so the players know when it's going to end, especially if they have to go on and play again.
Yeah.
You know, to me, and how about shot spot? Another great thing that came along, and they're still not using it on the clay. Come
The
on.
eagle eye, they call
You
it.
could see
Yeah.
when an error is made.
Yeah.
You know, a few years ago in the Euros, Germany was playing England. Just before the half, England scores a goal against Germany. They said it was no goal. And I was for Germany. Excuse me. I was for Germany, but it was a goal. Television and technology. What does it do? It tells you what's happening. Baseball's done it, NFL football. Now they have VAR in soccer. I think it's great. Excuse me, I should have had some water with me.
Yes.
I'm starting to kick out.
Sorry. This production is very, very low, so I don't even have water ready. Sorry.
I know.
We'll be more prepared next time.
But now the best thing is the shot spot has been replaced by the electronic line calling. And to me, that's excellent.
Yeah.
No more human beings on the lines. You know, this is it. This is the call. The last thing I'd like to see changed is the net cord. Guys hit aces all the time, and gals too. And nope. Let.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even hear it.
Yeah, and then
now once in a while it might favor the receiver because it might hit the net, go up. He can come in or she can come in and put it away. But I think get rid of that. Come on. I know they've done it in team tennis, world team tennis. And
yeah.
But anyway, I think that's a wrap.
But before
Sorry about
I
all
let
the
you
coffee.
go, so who are you choosing to win both? On the men's side, who do you think would win? And on the female side, who are you choosing?
Well, I would like to see Joker get the... well, we already have I took the field, you took Joker. But I would like to see Joker. I don't mind buying the dinner.
Right.
I'd like to see him get the Grand Slam like Rod Laver did, the great Rod Laver, who missed 20 slams in a row because he turned professional from 62 until 68. People forget about that. Don Budge, also, he was an American player. I'd like to see that. We've seen Steffi Graf. Graf was a great player with a great slice backhand. She had a tremendous slice. She had the Golden Slam also, I believe, with the gold medal. He unfortunately wasn't able to do that. I'd like to see him win it. But I'd also like to see Sashazverev or Tsitsipas. And I wouldn't mind Medvedev. I got to tell you,
boy,
these
it's
guys.
going to be tough.
But if I had to bet, I would bet
Djokovic. Hands down, Djokovic.
No, I would bet if I had to bet, and I don't bet because I'm a bad bettor. I don't bet because I'd lose. Often when I pick somebody to win and they lose, I say, that's why I don't bet. I'm betting on Sashazverev to win.
Oh, I'll be very happy if he wins. But
talk is cheap. I'm not betting any money.
Yes, we're talking 3 out of 5. We're talking 3 out of 5, not 2 out of 3. We're talking 3 out of 5.
Well, 2 out of 3 is an easier way to upset. Right. Especially the women have it harder that way.
3 out of 5 is tricky, and someone like Djokovic always has the stamina. So
oh yes, very hard to beat the top guys. Exactly. Well, they're all top though.
Nadal has that.
Nadal.
Yeah. So if Zverev can do it, oh boy, oh.
And I'm calling for Sabalenka.
I'll be very happy about that.
The female, the distaff side.
Pliskova and Sabalenka is who I'm rooting for. Although I still like Barty, so if she wins, I'll still be happy about that.
Anyway,
I like Osaka. If she wins, I'll be happy about that. I don't know, Svitolina. If any of them wins, I will still be happy about it. So, thank you so very much. This has been fun.
Thank you, and I think they'll be even happier than we are.
Yes, I know.
And their family.
We're like
and their coaching staff. We're just vicarious.
We're like couch commentators. We like sports in general.
Monday morning quarterbacks.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a football terminology.
Yes.
Pro football, not soccer.
So we will be there on Monday.
Unfortunately, we were unable to go to the qualifiers this year.
Yes.
Best free ticket in town for anybody outside of the New York area this year because of COVID, understandably. Restricted, maybe next year, but it's a great ticket. And you see some top players.
Yeah.
It's so tough, the men's and women's game today. They're so good, I think, better than ever. These are the Halcyon days. You've had the big three. You had Murray there for a while as a fourth. Unbelievable. The women's side, you had Serena. First time we won't see the Williams sisters in the U.S. Open.
Strange.
Tremendous competitors right through from the old days right up until today. So long.
Thank you so much, and we hope you enjoyed our little talk.
Our babble.
Our babble, yes. Join us next time on My Stage, Your platform, and enjoy the U.S. Open, because we will enjoy it too. So cheers. We'll try to follow it through, so we'll see you again. Bye-bye.
I hear your call. hear you coo.